All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Quest for Success podcast. Today we have on the 2022 California High School Baseball Coach of the Year. He was also a part of the 1991 Division I Valley Championship team at Menachie. He's a high school baseball coach, and he is originally from Porterville, but now he's coaching up in near Northern California.
Sacramento.
In near Sacramento area. We're so honored to have him on today. Please welcome Kurt Takahashi to the Quest for Success podcast.
Hey, thank you guys, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, always love coming down to Porterville. These thoughts in my head as I drive down to Porterville are always the same. It's always about reminiscing about old stuff. Yeah. And I love to be able to come on here and actually just spew it. It's awesome.
Yeah, we're excited, man. So, Kurt, we have a little segment called the Mental Minute. Get us fired up, get the juices flowing. And Zach's going to kick us off with the first question.
Let's get right into it. Favorite baseball player growing up?
Favorite baseball
Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan.
Why?
Just his bulldog attitude, man. Yeah. How old was he? It just lifting the leg up high and just getting after it. And I always consider myself throwing 150 miles an hour in high school. So I just loved, and I think it was his delivery, just anything. Just the way he looked, the whole thing.
Right.
He just had a kind of a presence.
Yeah, because, before the podcast started, you talk about these guys who have this high velocity, but they don't got the attitude.
Nope.
What good is it?
Yeah. Me and Zach were talking about that. It's you can have 10 guys with high velocity, mid-90s, high 90s. You get 3 of them with that attitude, that crazy mental toughness to be able to actually use the 95 to 100.
That dog in them.
Yep.
Yeah, and Nolan Ryan, you're like, that guy, you didn't mess with that
guy. Right.
Some of his dudes trying to charge the mound on him. What was the famous one?
Robin Ventura.
Yes.
Yeah.
When he clocked him.
Oh, he got him right in the head a bunch of times.
Yeah, that dude he was a dog. So you've played not just a high level in high school, you also got drafted by the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
And you've, had a good career in minor league baseball as well. Who was the coach that had the greatest impact on you throughout your journey in baseball, whatever level it may be?
Oh, whatever level, man. Honestly, I played at a high level. I would have to say it wouldn't be one coach. It would be all of my little league coaches.
Oh,
I know that's kind of a weird answer. They introduced me to the game at a pretty young age. They kept me in the game. I think that's what's important nowadays. But I would say that the most impactful guys is definitely all of my little league coaches. They made it fun, but they made it competitive all at the same time.
Right.
And I was telling you guys earlier, I was never the best guy on my team, but they kept me coming back every single year, and I just couldn't wait to get to the ball field.
Yeah. Were you always a pitcher, little league, or did that something that came along as you continue to play?
That's another thing. At these coaches, they had us play all the positions. We play outfield. I even caught. It didn't matter. Yeah. Whatever coach needed, we did. I always considered myself a hitter. Obviously, baseball didn't choose that for me. Ended up pitching, but I think I probably end up being more of a pitcher. I mean, you get in the minor leagues; those guys are playing every day. I'm not really sure that I could do that when they play every day. I mean, that's a lot of games.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so as a player, we'll get to the team after this one. How did you prepare for baseball games? What was your approach to it?
As a player, especially in professional baseball, you kind of have a lot of time to yourself in the morning. You don't get to the fields for a 7:00 game at home. Games are 7:30. You don't get to the field till 2, depending on what you're doing. And a starting pitcher, probably a little later. My routine was pretty much to myself, really getting up, having breakfast by myself. I'd even catch a movie. It's just kind of like you kind of go throughout your day and just really to yourself and thinking about what my game plan is for that night.
Right.
And what I learned later in my pitching career was that game plan was always just be aggressive.
Yeah.
And that's, for some reason, I wished everybody could figure out how to get in that zone before the game. I wish I could have figured it out also. But it's just trying to focus and keep a routine going, because if you make it different, I don't think that you're prepared for what's about to happen that night.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So going along with that same question, How, now that you're a coach, right? You've coached high school, and not just coaching, but you've coached your teams to a high level of success, right? How do you prepare your teams at the high school level now to get them ready for the game, get them prepared, especially for those big games, right? That really matters. You get to the playoffs or fighting for a league title or whatever it is.
Man, Blaine, it's the routine. It's the routine. We don't mess with our routine. Our practices stayed the same. I'm a huge practice guy. In high school, you only play 2 to 3 games a week.
Right.
Those practices in between are probably the most important things. Our practice plans are very difficult. I kind of make them that way so they are prepared for those type of games. It doesn't matter if it's a league game, if it's a non-conference game, or if it's a section championship game. We prepare exactly the same. It's the same routine. We have our Monday practices, our Wednesday practices, our Friday practices. And high school kids, you have to keep a routine or they're going to get out of whack. The hardest thing is to actually have a team play at a later in the day when there's an off day from school, because then you don't know what time they get up.
Yeah.
But
Put
for
a
the
lot of
most
trust
part,
in them. Yeah.
Oh man, you're right. Yeah. But for the most part, to prepare them for bigger games, it's all in the same practices. We know this from the very, very beginning, what our practices are going to be like, and they're not going to change.
Are they high tempo, or they're just bang, bang, bang?
Man, I would put our practices against anybody. Our practice plans consist of a normal throwing routine, throwing program for infield, outfielders, and pitchers. We don't have, we're a smaller program, we only have 300 kids at our school. So most of these kids play other positions. I don't have a whole lot of POs. I don't think I have any, actually. So there's a whole lot of throwing going on. You got to be careful with that, because a lot of times, you're one of your, especially in our D5 level, your main pitcher, your number one guy is normally your shortstop or your third baseman. So they're already doing a whole lot of throwing. So you got to make sure that you figure out how much throwing they've done in the week. Also pay attention to that. But also it's super important when they're playing catch to get a feel for all their pitches, change-ups, curveballs, sliders, fastballs, the whole thing. So it's not real difficult, but our tempo of our practice, it all revolves around our batting practice and our situational stuff.
Right.
Our batting practice, we make that, it's not just guys swinging at pitches, man. It is situational stuff the whole time. We also have base runners on doing situational base running the whole time. Yeah. And like I have an incredible coaching staff. They don't miss a thing. Yeah. They pay attention to detail, especially in the cages when I got a group in the cages getting ready to go hit live. There's also coaches watching the defense, and coaches watching the base runners.
They're bought in.
Yeah, they're bought in, man. You know, I want to harp more. I can't take any really credit for any of this stuff. My coaches are just, those are my guys.
Yeah, but they're not just yes men like you were talking about earlier. You know, you had you're mentioning you mentioned that one gentleman, you know, who's the complete opposite. If you know what I mean.
Our football coach. Yeah, he's awesome. He's the one that started the program, Drew Rickard. Yeah. He is one that I was learning from. And when I first started at Bradshaw, he had just stepped down as the coach, as the head coach, and he was just coaching football. But I did notice what he brought to the table during football season. I was like, I need that on the baseball field. And that's just the consistency, the routine, the discipline, the accountability. That's where I think I was missing. Again, I was never coached baseball in high school level. The last level of baseball I was in was pro baseball. So I didn't have a whole lot of thought process on it. I didn't know what I was going to start with. Other than how do you run a practice? But you got to run an efficient practice. Right. Yeah. Again, a fast tempo practice, and also one that's a little difficult on the mind. You can't make it super easy on these guys. How do you expect them to perform at a high level, and especially under pressure? Yeah.
Just so nobody's confused, you mentioned that you're a D5 level. Yeah. But you know, you got some studs on the team though, right? You know, you mentioned a kid that's going to Stanford. Yep. And some others. Your son just graduated, right?
My son's at Sac City.
Yeah. So I mean, you still got some ball players at that level. You know what I mean? By no means is it just this slouch time.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So that's cool. I like asking this question. You know, baseball, superstitious stuff like that. Were you a superstitious baseball player back in the day? Shit, even now?
No. I'm not. No, I don't think so. We did on our run in 2022. where it felt like we played 150 games. There was this Luke Combs song that came on every day. So I would wait for it to come on. And I would tell my son, that's our dub song, man. It came on. I'm not real superstitious, man. I just, my preparation for, especially for these teams, I feel is already good enough that we're ready to go. It doesn't matter rain or shine, man. We're ready to ball out.
Trust the process.
Yeah,
Deal.
100%.
So I want to kind of go back to you real quick. Where did it all start for you? Baseball, like, did you start? Obviously, you mentioned you played Little League, had some great Little League coaches. Where did that love kind of kick off for you, and who kind of introduced you to the game?
I would say probably Babe Ruth. We had the best time playing Babe Ruth. We had in Porterville that had, I don't remember the name of the stadium, had a big red barn out in left field. I think the fairgrounds are there now.
Fairgrounds,
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
We would be dropped off in the morning and just stay there all day long. And then we would play in our game and then keep staying there because they gave you a hot dog and a soda after the game.
Yeah.
But it was the competitiveness that I just loved being out there against our buddies. And I think that's missing now because of travel ball. You're traveling other places and playing some different guys you don't really know. But I love playing buddies that I went to school with. And that's kind of what ignited that fire a little bit.
Yeah.
And also, I was never the best guy on our team. So it was always striving to be better than that guy and that guy.
And what's crazy is you say that is that you made it to the pro level though.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
It just shows you how good our Little League and our Babe Ruth programs were. They were really, really good.
Yeah. You know,
That's awesome.
To talk about, you know, playing with your competitive teammates and stuff like that. Can you share that experience of that 91 Valley team at Wenatchee?
That's the craziest high school team I think you're ever going to see. I know I'm coaching. This is going to be my 8th year in coaching high school baseball. I've never seen a team more rounded than that team. We had 2 coaches, Tom Rieger and we had Paul Began, which 2 great baseball guys. Yeah. Great mentors, good men. We actually just lost Rieger, I think a year ago, this last year.
And Paul Began as well.
And Paul Began, good men, good coaches. On a side note, coaches, you kind of put that word next to a person's name, and what it loses is that human factor in it, where they were just good men. Yeah. You know? And one of my goals as a coach is to prepare these boys for life after baseball. Yeah. And I've talked to you guys about big picture. I'm a big picture guy, man. I love the process and the journey of baseball and the journey of practicing and working hard and stuff like that. Sorry, I got off the note, but
no, you're good.
That 91 team was so stacked with players that just were good. Just good, man. We had, and we talked about our size. All of us are over 6 foot. You know?
Giants.
We were just, but also if you watched us warm up, we were having lots of fun, just tons of fun. We were buddies off the field. There is probably never been a game in high school. I don't even know if you see this now, where we would play in a game at Wenatchee, go to my mom's house after the game and still play wiffle ball. So if I threw in that game, didn't matter. I'm still playing because it was almost like the most competitive one was after the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then that team, we bonded well early. We all worked really hard. We had to put up our own fence, really get our field ready. But it was just, we basically had a bunch of team captains and we just love being around each other.
Yeah. Time you won't forget. Nor will you ever.
Well, I will never forget that.
Yeah. Can you talk about a couple of the guys on that team? I mean, we had Steve Cox on. Steve was on that 91 team. Yeah. You had Rusty Laughlin, Farmer,
Kurt Zimmerman,
Watson.
Yeah, Dennis. Yeah.
Some dudes on the team. Like
we had Randy Montesino. We had Matt Jones, Eufrasio Benavides. I told you played football at Cal Poly. We had so many good players. I'm still friends with them now. It's one of the reasons I come for, well, obviously to see you guys, but one of the reasons I come to see Steven, and then tonight we're going to see Farmer. Again, just good people. Good people. I love being around them. We love being competitive with each other. In high school, Steven used to come over to our house a lot, and we would just be competitive in my bedroom.
It never ended.
Just found something.
Whatever
you know what
I mean?
We never felt the pressure of the actual game, which I feel a lot of kids feel now. The pressure of winning. We always just wanted to have fun and play as hard as we could, and it didn't seem like it was putting us out.
Right.
Didn't seem like it was such a bother. Because sometimes kids now are just like, this is such a bother.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to get to the baseball field with these guys. It was the best.
Yeah. They, so Menachie and then Fresno City. Can you explain that jump for us? You know, going from, I mean, that was a very competitive baseball team in high school, but then you go to Fresno City. Can you explain the difference in that?
Shoot, 200 dudes.
Yeah.
Grew up in a completely different culture than I did. It's just a bigger school.
Yeah.
You know, it was kids from Bullard and Clovis and all the Clovis schools and Hoover and some other schools out there, Fresno High.
Did you still feel like you belonged there though?
Nope.
No.
Not in day one.
Not in day one.
But Coach, Ron Scott was there when I was there. He just retired, I think, last year. I kind of came in with the mentality of, okay, there's a lot of guys here, but I still feel I'm better. I don't know. That started clicking in when I was in that age. And with the stuff that I had then, again, I was drafted that year, was pretty good to be on that team. So it didn't feel that much. I didn't feel like I fit in right when I got there, but after about a month, it definitely fit in.
Yeah, it's probably just maybe because it was new. You know what I mean?
New.
The whole system was new.
Yeah, I was the guy with the worst car there too.
It matters. It matters at the JUCO level, right?
I had a old blue Dodge Colt. That I
rolling
know
up the
you guys
practice
probably don't
and
even
that,
know who the heck what that is.
Pull
it's
it
an
up.
old like hatchback, man, and it was brutal. I think my back rear tire had a bubble in it.
Yeah, if you had to paint JUCO as a car, that's what it is.
That was it.
That's awesome.
That was it. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you're at Fresno State. Did you get drafted out of Fresno City to the Giants or out of your senior year?
I got drafted out of Fresno City in 1995.
So 95.
Yeah.
So that time when you were at Fresno City, like what were you doing? And like, what were you doing to develop as a player to get to that next level? Like, what was the difference when you got to Fresno City and then when you're going to leave and get drafted? Like that was you spent 2 years there?
At Fresno City?
Yeah.
I just won.
Just one.
Yeah.
So that year, what were the things that you were doing to develop to go play at the next level?
You know, Blaine, the funny thing, it's a good question, man. I don't know. I didn't pay attention enough to really, this is where I feel I come in as a coach. I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to the process of the game when I was playing there. I did get drafted solely on my arm strength and a couple other things that I brought to the table, but I wasn't paying attention to my process of it or even getting ready for it. I think you just kind of go to practice because of the people tell you to go to practices and coaches. And they're great coaches. They prepare you for it, whether you want it or not. For some reason, junior college is part cross country running. I don't know how that works out because it feels like you're running cross country every single day when you're pitching.
Foul poles.
And yeah, 30-second foul poles. Those are the worst. But I make my high school team do it. That's why I do it. But I think I was learning the game and I didn't even realize it that whole time I was there, which led me into professional baseball. But really, just learning how to play a longer season than high school is difficult. But just really the competitive spark needs to be there because junior college baseball is no joke.
No.
You will hear some things coming out of dugouts that you've never heard before, especially coming from Menachie.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to just block it out and play the game as hard as you can. That's it. Just play as hard as you can. There's no, I tell kids this too, there's no sick days. There's no hurt days. There's no, I'm not feeling it today. I don't have my bat. I don't have my glove. It does not matter. They don't care. You play as hard as you can because everybody's getting after it like a bunch of pack of wild dogs.
Right.
Especially like the JUCO scene in California, whether it's baseball or basketball, is like next level compared to most of the country.
Intense.
It's insane.
You put it close to, Division I baseball. There's some guys out there that are, and COVID kind of hurt a lot of kids. But there's some kids out there that probably should be playing at a different level there in JUCO. And my son is his first year. He's going to be redshirting this year. He's got some kids that have been there 2 or 3 years, as you don't really hear very often.
Yeah.
Very good baseball players. I got to go out and watch a couple scrimmages. Really good baseball players, man.
Yeah.
With the mentality.
Yeah.
You roll that all into one. They're only 19, 20 years old, 21 years old. It's pretty good.
Would you say more often than not, the kids that you're talking about right there, is it because of the lack of grades? Is why they may not be playing at a Division I, Division II, Division III?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think, but there's also the side of maybe that these rosters are kind of overloaded in D1 baseball right now. There's not a whole lot of scholarships being offered in baseball. There's enough. It's not like football, but there's enough.
Right.
But kids need help.
And then you throw in that transfer portal. And
the portals,
it's a beast.
Baseball is already hard.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a game of failure.
Yeah.
And you're already at a disadvantage when you go there. So if you are plan on going anywhere higher than high school, anywhere, I don't care if it's NAIA, D3, D2, D1, junior college, you have done something. If you make that team, you have done something.
Right.
Yeah.
Were you a good student athlete?
Nope.
Or, no. Was it so? School was a difficult thing.
It was a very difficult thing. Yeah. Even when I was younger, it was just difficult. I had a tough time with basically comprehension. Nothing really stuck in my head. The only thing that ever really just stuck in my head was sports. Yeah. I couldn't figure out if it was a movement, if it was a muscle memory thing, if it was because I enjoyed practicing, but I couldn't figure out a way to study to make things stick in my head to where I could do a quiz or a test. Right. I had such a hard time. It was very frustrating. I also became an athletic director and a coach. You know, we live by the emails now. I still struggle with emails a little bit. I'm not afraid to say that I have to read it several times, maybe even print it out, highlight it, so I can reply to a longer email so I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But I think that my struggle also, again, why I love coaching is another part where I can see kids struggle with the same thing. And when you're on a small school, you can go to the class. Hey man, what's going on with your grade? What's up with this D? What's up with this F? Let's take care of it. Right now our school has another athletic director who's our basketball coach, does the same thing, pulls them right out of class. It's the best. But I think it's important to know that these kids that are struggling, I would never say anything. That's embarrassing. Now I'd be like, you got to say something.
Yeah.
Don't be embarrassed. Say something. It'll be a lot easier. It's like ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Everybody already can figure it out. Don't be afraid. Let's figure this out together. I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy. I want to be there next to you going, we'll figure it out. I can't help you with math, but I can find somebody that will.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's in our day and age of social media and awareness, I think it's important that kids have to realize that, hey, if you struggle in school, it's okay. You can find help. Doesn't mean you're a horrible person. Parents sometimes see, parents are struggling too, man.
Sure.
And I think parents might be a little embarrassed also. Don't be embarrassed. You find somebody it'll help you out. Go find somebody.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Absolutely. So you finished your time up at Fresno City. You're going to get drafted to the San Francisco Giants in 1995 in the draft. What was that kind of journey like of getting drafted and the process of, going into the minor league system? We all know the minor league system, that journey is not easy.
No.
It's tough, especially, I think it's got a little bit better, but not a whole lot. But you go back in the mid 90s and it's a grind, right? It's a process.
Oh, it's a grind. Your first year you get drafted, they had short season A-ball where you go up to the Northwest League, was Bellingham, Washington. That was the best because they kind of just it was a soft landing into professional baseball. They didn't just throw you in into the arena. It's pretty awesome. It's like 3 months long. It's like a 2 or 3 weeks after your season for college is done, and then you go there, and then you get drafted, and then they send you there. The hardest one was the first spring training. That was hands down probably one of the most humbling experiences of my life. You go in there with a bunch of guys that look just like you, that throw just like you.
Yeah.
And you're trying to actually separate yourself from those guys.
Right.
I had no idea how to do it. So honestly, that first off season, I had no idea how to prepare. I didn't know. All I knew was my identity was now a baseball player, and I was going to ride that. Wasn't mature enough to figure that out yet. After my first spring training, definitely figured that out. I was a punching right in the face. When you're throwing, when you feel that you're always the hardest thrower and the best pitcher, now all of a sudden you're pretty average out there. Those guys are either they're I wouldn't say better than you. They have the same stuff as you, but maybe a different mentality.
So when you talk about that journey as you're coming up to be a professional baseball player, talk about the journey of getting to that state championship and winning that. How is that season like? Were those group of guys, the coach, explain that entire season from beginning to middle to end.
So you're talking about my 2022.
Yeah.
That was a culmination of, let's back it up to COVID. I had a few players on the team in 2020 that we ended up having to cut short, like 2 games in, that really set the tone for how we worked out in fall and winter. And the kids that ended up being on the 22 team were probably freshmen or sophomores at the time. It was a culmination of those guys, and then COVID happening, and then the hunger that they came back with in 2021. And then all of a sudden in 2022, we get to play baseball.
Let's go.
And we honestly didn't even figure out that we were going to play for that NorCal State Championship until about 2 or 3 weeks in. We read on Max Preps that there was an extra game after the section title game. And I don't like to get ahead of ourselves. I don't like to get ahead of it and think, oh man, we're going to go right here. My goal is always to have the kids understand the journey and the process.
Yeah.
Wins will come. It's a byproduct of it. It's kind of like, I don't know if I call it a side effect, but I don't look too far ahead. So when that season began in 2022, we had a freshman come in, a pitcher, and then another kid that ended up transferring from a different school. Kind of surprised. The pitching staff was kind of coming around, and I had this leader on my team, who's now is going to be at up in Sacramento at Jessup College up there. He's probably 5'4", 5'5", probably 150 pounds. Our team leader by far. He came in with he was on a mission. I had some other players that were really good, young players, that I can see our team kind of coming around in January. We came around to February. We started playing some scrimmages, and I'm thinking, man, our pitching's really solid right now. We're pretty good.
Yeah.
Our base running was really good.
Yeah.
It was easy to coach because not only was these kids actually putting the ball in play, but you could put on any situation and we were going to be just fine. And they understood the game. So fast forward to the Fresno Easter tournament. We were playing Redwood High School from Visalia. We had no business. I like to play the Fresno tournament because I'm part of I like the process. I don't mind getting the crap beat out of us. I can figure out who my guys are from that. So we're playing Redwood and we beat Redwood. That's when our kids bought in. Oh my gosh, we're good. I'm like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
I told you guys we were good. You have to look at your practices. We go back home. Our practices changed. Not only did it start from kids getting there early, but the weight room started coming into effect a little bit.
There we go.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. That's a big thing with high school baseball is the kids don't understand. It's like if you're a freshman and don't be satisfied with being on the freshman team or the JV team, you want to be on the varsity team. Look different when you come in every year.
Yeah.
Put some weight on. You know, everybody thinks, oh, I got to have this certain protein, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. There's plenty of peanut butter. There's plenty of chocolate milk. You know what I mean? Everybody has that in their household.
Yeah.
So as we start to come in towards this, we came back home from the Fresno tournament. That fly's getting me. We came back home and we saw the change in the boys. And then we got our transfer eligible. He got comfortable with our team. And then the boys just started to click. And their goals went through the roof. That's when it started to go, okay, we're going to win this thing. We won league. Then we went to the section championship. Then we went to the section championship, which we had to play a couple playoff games, which we ended up doing very well. Got to the section championship, played Houston, won 3-1. And I'm like, okay, guys, we got more. And then we 10-run rule the next 2 playoff games. And then we get to the NorCal game. And now the timing on it, and I talked to you guys about my pitching count limits.
90, right?
I don't need to throw another one of my big guys because it's the timing on it, they couldn't anyway. And I could have brought back one of my other kids to probably at least start 2 or 3 innings, but really not necessary. I brought the freshman up, who just so happens is now committed to Stanford. That's cool. But at that time, he was a freshman, hadn't been up varsity, I think, 1 game. But he was also our JV quarterback. He's also one of our better basketball players. I had no doubt in my mind. So we actually called the captains up and said, hey, who do you guys want to pitch today? Who do you guys want to pitch on Saturday? And then they said the kid's name. I was like, perfect, we're in. Went down there with a bunch of confidence. This team was Calusa. They were 33-0.
Wow.
And I've coached against Eric, who's the head coach there. Great baseball guy, man. He runs such a good program. He runs summer stuff. We've met a couple of times in tournaments. We're all sitting in the dugout, super comfortable. And then I realized they brought the whole, I don't know if you guys ever been to Calusa. It's way out there, man. It's deep. They brought the whole town. There was a whole lot of people there. I remember
Where was it at?
Calusa. It's above Sacramento. It's like way out in the middle of nowhere. It's a lot. It was like being home. It was just, you know,
They roll deep.
yeah,
Yep.
heck yeah. And we go, so 33-0 team. We go up 7-0 in the first inning.
Wow.
Jeez.
And I'm like, we cannot be beat. There's just no way. Mike, and then this freshman pitcher comes in and throws a complete game shutout.
No way.
Oh yeah, it was
That's
amazing,
awesome, man.
And we were done, and I just remember the boys were driving our school vans back, and we had every year we do a crab feed where the boys, one of our fundraisers is all the boys actually are waiters at a crab feed, and they wanted to go by that place and actually take a picture in front of it because it meant so much to them. I don't know. These guys are crazy, but this team now has 2 or 3 kids that have come back and help coach.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
That's what it's all about right there.
Yeah. Like I said, one of our outfielders came back. He needed to get an Eagle Scout patch. Asked me, hey, coach, what do I got to do? I have to fundraise and I have to build something, build a snack shack. Had it done in 2 months. It's those little things like that. But this team was special. And it reminded me a lot of our 91 Wenatchee team.
Yeah.
Where they just bonded. They would hang out after games, before games, they would hang out I think the new hangout is Dutch Brothers now. So they would hang out there. But it's team leaders. And then also, again, coaching. The culture we have, we set the bar pretty high for these guys. We expect a lot out of them. But that, again, me being the big process, big picture guy, you should expect a lot out of yourself. If your coach expects more than you expect out of yourself, then we got a problem.
Right.
I think that works because, again, I'm coaching these boys so they can be better people, better men outside of baseball. Baseball is like this much of your life. It's such a small part of your life. You have the rest of your life now to be a good dude.
I agree.
And that, I think that's more important than any win. I really do, man. I love the wins come with it. Don't get me wrong. I love it. It gives our high school a good look and all this and this, but I love it even more when any of these boys call up and, hey coach, man, I'm back in town. Let me come by and see you. 100%. You know, I love that. I love that when they call me and say, hey, I'm at this college and thank you so much for our practices being the way they were. Because there's no fun to our practices most of the time, but they you prepared me for what's happening right now.
Yeah. And that same year, you also won the Coach of the Year, correct? What's the exact title of that?
It's the Small Schools California State Coach of the Year.
How did that feel?
Felt pretty good. I don't coach for me. Right. I coach for the boys. I would owe that award to all of my assistant coaches. We have guys that throw BP every day. We have guys that hit fungos every day. We have, again, our football coach who holds the kids accountable. He's set that school up for so much success. But it just really, you're only as good as your assistant coaches. And these guys are baseball guys. These guys play college baseball. They've been around the game a long time, but we also understood that if we don't have to agree with each other on everything we do, we can actually get in little arguments during practices, but at the same time, we're all in the same goal. We're always for the kids. We're always for the process, the journey of it, and the hardworking part of it.
Yep.
So as a coach, what are some of the values and principles that you kind of prioritize and preach to your team and to your players to kind of create that positive environment for your players to thrive in?
Ooh, accountability. Accountability. You know, it's being on time, dressing right. Our practices, you got to wear certain things. Everybody wearing the same thing. Games also being on time. Not an eye guy, play for the guy next to you. I really think that sets you up for success. And these boys need those boundaries. I know the high school kids, they want to resist them, but at the same time, they seem to thrive more when you put them into these little, it's not a little box, it's quite a big box.
Structure.
Correct. It's a structure. And when you put them in it, it makes them more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And the harder you lean on them in practices, the more comfortable they get with that.
Yeah.
Right.
And that breeds success.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that success is all about the wins and losses. It is, and but I'm more interested in these boys actually, when things get hard, they can play harder.
Right.
And be calm and take a breath and do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Confidence is usually built in practice.
Oh, yes.
That's where you're that up-tempo pace, where you're taking a little bit different risks that you would take in practice, and things like that. But it all adds up. It all adds up. Yep. I want to talk about something we were talking about before the podcast, how you have a bought-in system, not just at the high school, but with also the Little League coaches, coming to seek your advice of how to run practices, and you offering up your field to them and trying to get as much together to get on the same page to get the boat rowing in the same direction.
Yeah. Well, remember also we have parents that are like, I've told you, our culture is unbelievable. Our parents are so helpful. And the boys that I'm coaching more than likely have a little brother in Little League at that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we always reach out. This team, the boys have come out and helped with the all-star team tryouts.
Nice.
One of our dads was running the team, and the kids are younger. Now they're in high school. It's important because these boys know what to expect when they get in high school. And I love it that they ask. And to tell you the truth, it's not, they always think it's what is the baseball stuff? Well, first of all, teach them how to get a field ready to practice on.
Mm-hmm.
Teach them where to play catch. You never at any point in your career will ever play catch in the infield of a baseball field. Never. You should go down the left field line if you're at home, or the right field line when you're away, and that's where you play catch.
Yep.
You don't step on the line. You either behind or in front of it.
There's an unwritten rule book somewhere. Go find it.
But the thing is we have these baseball fields are so beautiful. You want to keep them nice.
Yeah.
Of course, you want to be able to play on really, really nice stuff, but you have to take care of it. Nobody else does it but you. So after games, we got to take care of weeds. We got to get the mounds right. We got to get everything back set up. If we can reach out to the younger groups and show them how to play catch, I mean, simple stuff like hitting each other in the chest,
right?
Teaching them how to catch the ball in the pocket. That's such an important thing that you don't hear of very often.
Mm-hmm.
You can see kids playing catch, but if you don't hear it hit the pocket, then you ain't playing catch right.
Right.
Also moving our feet when we play catch. You'll see a lot of kids try to just kind of lunge over, bend over at the waist and catch it. Move your feet and go get it. When you're hitting batting practice, or usually on the Little League fields, it's usually normally a live batting practice. There's no cages on Little League fields. Mm-hmm. So it's usually a live batting practice. Have a purpose with a swing.
Right.
Coach is not throwing very hard. Also, don't beat yourself up if you swing and miss. It's okay. It's a game of failure. You're going to do it. You're going to miss a ground ball. I promise. You're going to miss the ball. It's going to hit you in the face at some point. Mm. You're going to overthrow somebody. It's okay. Guess what? Don't keep making the same mistake over and over and over.
That's good.
Yeah. I kind of want to go back to your career. We kind of briefly started it when you kind of went into playing for your first team up in Washington. Where was the journey? Where did the journey take you after that? Because you're going to spend, how many years did you end up spending in the minors?
I think I played with the Giants till 98.
Yeah.
And then got released. And then I went into the independent league, and the Western Baseball League was not there anymore. Until 2003, 2004. As you can tell, I'm getting older. I don't remember. That's where my baseball journey really kind of amped up. When I got in the independent league, which was crazy good baseball. It's a lot of guys that have been released. Maybe some college kids trying to catch on with a pro team. You get paid. It's a professional baseball. It's a wood bat. It's traveling. It's bus rides for 16, 15 hours. It's where I was getting older. Not as much juice on the old fastball. Didn't have stuff, but I sure learned how to pitch. I got to play with some really, really good baseball players. A guy named Steve Wojciechowski was with the A's. I got to play with Kevin Mitchell from the Giants. Got to play under Jeffrey Hackman Leonard was one of our managers one year. We played with some really good baseball players, but also I got to listen to more in the clubhouse of the game itself, of the little stuff, the the preparation, the hey, what guys did in certain situations in pro ball, because it's a little different, and also pitching to wooden bats. That was way different in pro ball too. But what I did learn, if you talk about my journey is it really ended there, but it started there at the same time, if that makes sense. Being in pro ball, it goes so fast. And then when you're on the end of your career and you're hanging on for your dear life, it starts to slow down, but you're right at the end of not playing anymore. Yeah. And if I could touch on this briefly, when your identity as a baseball player, the most difficult part is when you're not playing anymore. It's a very, very difficult transition. Depression never really was a thing for me until I stopped playing. You're not Kurt Takahashi, the baseball player anymore. You're just some guy. That's hard. That's really hard. It took a couple of years for me to figure that out. You take for granted the things you miss. You take for granted the birthday parties and stuff you miss because you're on the road, and you're super selfish when you're doing these things. But now the good thing is you get to have a relationship again with your mom and your dad and your brothers and sisters. But the hardest part was me trying to figure out my identity. And that was very difficult for me. And I know it's difficult for a lot of guys. And I do take great pleasure in talking to, I have a buddy who played overseas in basketball, and we started working together, and he's like, okay, what do I do? I was like, you're going to go through a hard time. Professional athletes have this inner confidence, this self-confidence that's really hard to beat. It's not cocky. It's just
prideful.
Absolutely 100%, man. And it's difficult when it stops and you don't get the pat on the back and the pat on the butt, but you really have to self-reflect. You have to reflect and go, okay, so what did I learn from that? And I wish I would have figured out sooner, but you realize that I can do this all by myself. I can. I don't need other people patting me on the back. I don't need people telling me good job. I do it because I truly believe in something.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part of that journey is there's side effects, man. And that's the hard part. The mental part of it is it's tough.
It is. And it needs to be talked about.
Yeah, it's tough. The mental side of being an athlete, the mental side of just being a person is tough. But it's speaking up and asking for help when you need it. I don't know how to really word it, but as a man, you're not supposed to cry and whine and gripe. But if you need help, if you're feeling a little dark, then ask. Yeah. Support, and also have a support system in place. Have some good friends. I have friends that will tell me when I'm doing something stupid. I have a wife that does the same thing. You want to talk about a passion? I know I keep going off of your questions.
No, it's good.
Man.
It's good stuff. It's amazing. Being vulnerable is a strength.
Yes, it is, and it's not talked about. Yeah. And it's not. And people don't realize that. They think strength is, I win and I do these things. It is. We talk about a lot of passion stuff too. I'm super passionate about the game itself. I'm passionate about the details. But I'm passionate about being a father, and I'm passionate about being a dad. That will always be my top priority, no matter what. I get really emotional about it because I love it. I would not want to be anybody else in the world but me when it comes to my kids and my wife. They are what gets me up in the morning and what gets me on track to do the things I want to do, but also do the right things. And I'm now leading by example when you're a father and you're a husband. So when we talk about sports, there's a whole lot of good things that comes with sports. It's the bigger picture of it. It's the hard work and the accountability that you have to, it comes with also being married and also being a father. But the rewards there is no monetary value on being that, right. There isn't, man. You don't need it. You know what I mean? And a lot of people think that they need to give their kids these certain things or even take their wives on these places and stuff like that. No, it's the time spent. It is. And there was a lot of time spent I missed when I was playing. I wouldn't trade that, but I do realize when I did miss a lot of things. But I do realize them now. I appreciate it 100% that I got to play at a high level, and I appreciate it 100% that I get to coach these kids. We all are human, and can be mentally taxing on you when you give that much. And you guys know, you run a gym and you do some other stuff too. There are days where you don't feel 100%. But that's still, I've never felt that was okay to not give 100% effort to people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the thing. It's like, you repeated it a couple of times. It's like you made a choice to try to be the best that you could be.
Yep.
There's sacrifices that are going to come along with that.
A lot of them.
It's non-negotiable. You can't avoid them. It's going to happen. You're just going to have to embrace and accept them.
Yeah.
And so, that stuff it gets wild, man. It gets dark for some people. But like you said, you got to have a strong support team, man.
You do.
know, and you got to be able to be okay with being a little vulnerable when those moments do come, and get that help.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this. This is going to lead to a second question. But what was you mentioned you're a father. What was your relationship like with your dad?
Oh man, I have a crazy family. I love it. I'm Japanese Mexican.
Okay.
I have a mom was Mexican. My dad's Japanese. My mom was married 3 times to 3 wonderful dads.
Oh wow,
wonderful people.
Nice.
A bunch of brothers and sisters from these families. Lots of grandmas and grandpas, lots of cousins.
Big family.
Wouldn't trade it for the world, man. You talk about an unbelievable Christmas and Thanksgiving. Oh, it's the best. Because not only do you get like 3 Christmases, you know what I mean?
Birthdays and everything.
It's my relationship with my dad is awesome as an adult. My dad was great. My dad was always there for us. And then both of my stepdads, great people, great men. I just had a strong mom. I had a very strong mom. Most people in Porterville probably knew her. She passed away about, I think we're going on 16 years, which is one of the reasons I don't get to come home very often. It's a little difficult. But when you grow up with a parent that is strong-willed and type A, and maybe at that moment you don't realize how good that is for you, but I realize it now as a dad. But yeah, that was my relationship with my parents. And again, my mom made it. This is how strong she was, man. My mom made it where when we had Thanksgiving and Christmases, all the dads would bring their families over and we'd all have dinner together.
No way.
And you don't hear that, That's amazing.
Yeah.
An amazing woman. But that's my relationship with those people, man. It's great.
But that's huge because that's not a worry.
Right.
It wasn't a worry for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? The stress, the possible arguments from this person, that person, it made baseball more simple, and that's the thing. It's like, your parents, I'm assuming they knew you were an above average baseball player. So did they just trust you enough to go out and be that best baseball player, or were they somewhat hard, or were they be like anything, or were they putting pressure on you to reach that level, or how was that?
No, they didn't. There was no pressure to play baseball.
Because you're a coach now. You know, sometimes you might get a dad and he's like, "Son, let's," you know what I mean. And so, how were they with you?
There was never any pressure to play baseball. It was always just pressure to be a good person, as good as you can.
Yeah.
Baseball was never a top priority. They loved it. They loved coming to the games. They always supported me. My mom, you can hear from any stands. Dad would travel out of town to come see me. Both of my other dads too, they would come to see me. It was never a top priority though. So it wasn't anything they pushed me to try to be the best baseball player in the world.
Yeah.
It's pretty new to some families though, man. There's not a whole lot of professional baseball players in families where people go, well, you gotta do it like your younger brother did. It wasn't like that. I was the oldest in the family. So nobody knew what was really happening. Even when I got drafted, they're like, wow, okay. This is actually possible. It happened. I'm like, yeah, can you believe it? But yeah, there was never a top priority in my life. Not really. Yeah.
So I'm gonna assume that you kind of took that to your son, right? Not a whole bunch of, because you coached him, right?
Yeah.
And so you weren't a stiffler on him. You weren't putting a bunch of pressure on him. You kind of just went the way that your parents went about it, or was there like a sense of standard now that you're a professional baseball player? How describe that relationship?
Well, that's tough, man. I had to do a lot of growing up.
Yeah.
Me personally, it can't be easy to play for a dad that played at a level like that. I was maybe a little more competitive when he was younger, 8 to 12. And then I coached him in high school. And of course it's different. I tried not to be harder on him, but my expectations for him were a little different. Cause Good baseball player though. Big, strong kid. Good head on his shoulders. Good kid. But it's really hard not to be a little harder on him. But at the same time, I try to be a dad and say, okay, big picture is this is probably got like less than a 1% chance of ever playing in a professional. So let's not bank on that. Let's just you get through school. And if you want to keep playing baseball, awesome. Sounds good. But just work hard.
Yeah.
Just work hard. That's it. Just work hard. If you want whatever you want to do, just work hard. You know, be a good guy, good handshake, good eye contact. And that's pretty much how my relationship with my kid now is. He's just,
and you got a great one, right?
I do, man. He's a good kid. He's a good kid. Yeah.
So, I mean, when you kind of talked about, and I'm kind of going back a little bit, but the mental side of finding your purpose after playing baseball or whatever sport someone's playing, right? How were you kind of able to find that purpose? Or did you have a plan when you were done playing yet? And like, what was that journey of finding that purpose and kind of getting out of that rut maybe that you were in and finding that value you could give back and that purpose of kind of going back and whatever you kind of went in with? It was coaching and education eventually, but
that's tough, man. That's such a blurry like timeline because when you're out of baseball and again, you're going through a tough time, you tend to, do some adult stuff. You go to bars and, you hang out and just be super selfish and do stuff like that and thinking I'm going to conquer the world by doing absolutely nothing, standing here and hopefully the world catches up to me and then these things get handed to you. When I got married, my brain did this weird like hardwire reset. And then when I had a kid, the grace of God just put his arms around me and says, this is what you're going to do. That is when I came out of it. Me and my wife dated for 5 years before we got married. It was awesome, man. She was actually with me when the independent league, talk about a life-changing person to come into your life. Thank God the stars all aligned because I was not that type of guy. But when I had my son is when I realized that my purpose in life was this. That is a crazy thing to do to an athlete. Yeah. Because athletes think they are invincible. They don't need anybody. I'm all about me. I. And then you have a kid and that changes everything. And it's the best. And that's what kind of led me into, I'm going to make sure I can do within my power to do the best for my kids. Yeah. And I can't say 100% of the time it's good for dads to coach their kids. I don't want to get on that and say, I'm not going to die on that hill, man. Cause you want to do it for the right reasons. Right. I'm not trying to put my kid at the top of the lineup and make sure that he's the guy all the time, because I know from playing that it doesn't end up like that. It always ends up being the guy is the guy. Right. You can try to pay for all this stuff. You can try to say this kid is that, this, and that, but they're going to have to eventually put up those numbers. They're going to have to actually be that guy. Yep. And you're going to set them up for failure if you do that. So you have to be very careful as a coach to realize, okay, should I coach my kid or shouldn't I? Yeah. This year this is my first year, probably my first year actually, not coaching my kid in the summer. It's the best. Oh man, I got my lawn chair, sat down the line with my Pepsi and just watched.
Soaked it in, huh?
Oh, it was the best. I saw a couple of the dads I know I coached and they're like, "Are you dad today?" I'm like, "This is the best. Why didn't you guys tell me this was that good?" There's no pressure. Yeah. Of course I want my kid to succeed, but man, he prepares hard. Yeah. I don't get nervous when he plays. I want to see him good. I want to see him have good at bats. I want to see him play hard. I want to see him get ready for the games. And he does all of that, man. Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to, for all the pitchers that are going to be listening to this, I kind of want to tune into your mentality that you had on the bump. You know what I mean? Facing against another guy in the box that you knew that was going to be a tough battle. Yeah. Explain that to us. How was your approach? What was your mindset? What were you going into when you faced a guy?
Have you guys ever seen Love of the Game? Yeah. Love of the Game, Kevin Costner. That Clear the Mechanism. It's that. It is one-on-one battle. I don't care who's in the stands. I don't care who's in the dugout. I don't care who's behind me, actually. I'm going to get you out. Yeah. If my arm is falling off, I'm going to kick the ball up there and I'm going to get you out. Yeah. I am not a super physical, confrontational, big rah-rah guy. But for some reason, when I was on the mound, and didn't matter what stuff, how I felt, I'm getting you out.
Yeah.
You may get me once. Lucky. Lucky.
Yeah.
That's what we'll call it. Huh?
Lucky. Lucky. That was my mentality. I wish I knew that. I wish I learned that a little earlier in my career. The game seemed to be moving so fast when I first got drafted that I couldn't quite catch up to it. I really started getting that towards the end of my career in the independent league, really.
Yeah.
But again, that was me slowing it down, taking a breath, and then just competing and battling.
Maturing, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Just maturing. When, these kids that have a lot of success when they're younger, and I had a lot of success. Again, I wasn't one of the best players, but I was pretty good. You don't have to deal with a whole lot of adversity when you're younger, when you're real good and you throw hard. Nobody's hitting you. You know what I mean? You don't even have to be good. You don't have to put the ball where you want. You just throw it anywhere near them. They're going to strike out,
Yeah.
Facing adversity, it just builds such an inner strength that I needed that when I was younger. I didn't really get it. So when I got into pro ball is when I had to really figure out who I was as a pitcher. And that was that's when my brain clicked on, if you want to win today, you will put me on the bump. I will toe the mound today if you want to win. If you want the best chances to win, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
But then I had to realize the next step was, what's my preparation? You have 4 days till your fifth day start. What's my preparation? I had to realize what days I needed to run, how I needed to lift, how I needed to exercises, how I needed to ice, get my brain right. The visualization the night before, the visualization in the morning before games when I pitched, all became so much more important. It wasn't just, I get to pitch today, show up to the park. There's a whole lot that goes along with it. So, that's pretty much in a nutshell.
You became more of a student of the game, basically, with the mental preparation and things like that. Yeah, that's cool.
As a coach, how do you continue developing as a coach? And the game, I'll say that I guess the game's constantly evolving, but at the end of the day, it's still baseball, and it's still the same game that we've played for 100 years, right? But as a coach, the mental side of it, the gameplay, the practice, planning, and all that stuff, how do you continue to evolve as a coach?
Not being afraid to evolve as a coach is one. I'm not so good that I can't keep learning.
Right.
That humility and open-mindedness.
Oh, heck yeah, man. When you start coaching, you figure in your head, there's one way to take a ground ball. There's one way to throw that pitch. There's one way to hit. There isn't. You're wrong if you think that. Also getting coaches from old school to new school, being around coaches. I was around some really good guys in the summer, and then again, my own coaching staff. Some guys that just came out of a D1 college that came out of, I had coached with a couple of guys in the summer that came out of Cal State Fullerton, and they were showing me some stuff on the infield that I hadn't seen.
Nice.
Again, my old school way is get in front of the damn ball and knock it down and throw them out. Okay. I had to watch that and listen, and I'm like, man, those dudes, they know what they're talking about. Yeah. I like it. I like the movement. I love that they're teaching these kids to be athletic and not just so baseball player.
Yeah, putting a finesse on it.
Yeah, there's an athletic movement to sometimes taking a step back on a ground ball, and it's okay to do a backhand type deal.
Yeah.
That's where I feel that I'm always learning. And you know what, man? And again, kudos to social media. There's a lot of good guys out there. There's a lot of good baseball dudes out there. Some, I don't know. But a lot of good stuff that I really, really like. And you can't not like professional athletes. You can't not like D1 athletes. You can't not like college players. I love watching, and this is crazy, my son knows this. We go to the Sacramento Rivercats game, which was the AAA for the Giants up in Sacramento. I love watching bullpens. I could stand there all day long and watch these guys get ready for a game because there's such a feel to it and there's such the body timing. And then I love watching the catchers block. I love all that stuff, man. That's just me learning. I have a notebook. I take notes for every single game. And I can go back to any questions that I had about the game before. But I love being a student, still being a student of the game and the preparation of it.
You have to be, yeah. So what advice do you give kids that do have, that desire to play at the next level, right? You mentioned a kid, he's going to Stanford. You throw 96, they're going to come find you.
Yep.
But if you don't have that God-given talent, and you got to dog it out, what advice do you give these kids? How do you tell them to prepare, and what do you tell them to do and things like that to help them reach that next level that they're fighting, it's so hard to get to?
Hugest thing. And me and you, I think, text back and forth about this.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to jump in the deep end. Don't be afraid to fail.
Right.
Do not be afraid to fail in anything in life, in anything. If you want to go do something, do it. I always tell kids, look, you're going to screw up. You're going to make an error. You're going to walk a guy. You're going to hit a guy. You're going to lose a game. You're going to be you know how humiliating it is to throw a pitch and have to walk off the mound?
Yeah.
It's awful. So what? It's tomorrow.
Yep.
There's tomorrow. There's tomorrow. God willing, there's tomorrow. You have to wake up and get to do it again. There's a perspective in this. It's not the end of the world. If you're super competitive, yes, it might be. You might think it's the worst thing in the world. It's not.
Yep.
There are worse things. What I tell kids is also have fun, but take care of stuff, man. Do good in school. Be good to your mom and dad. Thank them.
Yeah.
Anytime I have a conversation with kids on the phone, coach, I'm thinking about committing to this school, or I really want to take this recruiting trip. Hey, make sure you thank your mom and dad. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes there.
I you say that, and it's awesome because, I'm trying to do this with my own kid, but I also try to share it with other kids that come into the gym. It's like, try to win in other areas of life other than just your sport. Because when you have a bad game, and if you're winning, you help that person open the door. Something simple, you know what I mean? You aced your math test. You shake off that loss. You shake off that embarrassing moment, that ball going between your legs or whatever the case, and just find other ways to learn how to win other than just your sport.
Yeah.
It's huge.
You're so right, man. And, a lot of parents also, they think they want their kids to be athletes all the time. I'm like, well, maybe they don't want to be athletes. Maybe they want to be a painter, or they're creative minds. Maybe they want to be a musician. Maybe they want to be a photographer. Awesome. Find something. And my biggest, find a purpose in life, but also be in something bigger than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be in something bigger. Be a teammate in some capacity.
Yes.
Be a great student. Steven, his daughter is an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it is crazy. That's her thing, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether she liked it or not, it's her thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that we figure out later in life that we were really good at. We just missed because we were so focused on doing these other things, trying to be the big football player, the big basketball player. Well, you didn't realize that you were actually a musician this whole time, did you?
Yeah.
But just try things out.
I mean, for crying out loud, look at Michael Jordan. You know what I mean?
I know. Businessman, baseball player, basketball player. Yeah.
But it kind of builds them up to be those guys. And, you do see, and it's great that you touch on a Michael Jordan or even like a LeBron James. You touch on where they are now. You watch them on TV. Oh, those guys are so great. It wasn't easy to get there.
Yeah.
There's a whole journey to that. You have the love, the lifting, the criticism, the fall, the rise, the hype, and all that stuff. It's very difficult to be those people. Just be you. Be the best version of you.
100%.
Just be the best version of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree.
I think it's like going back to, when you do have like a bad game or make a mistake, right? It's like you said, continue to open those doors, because today, you do see when kids make a mistake, everything else falls, and like maybe it's a big mistake, right? And sometimes even as educators and teachers and whatever, like some of those kids are kind of written off and ostracized and stuff like that. But it's also like, especially kids, like in middle school and high school, like that's gonna be the time. Make the mistakes early if you're gonna make them.
Yeah.
And we get the support and all that stuff, but just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you have to fall and everything else in life, right?
Right.
Keep opening the doors, keep doing the things right, pick yourself back up, right? And sometimes I think like as an administrator, an athletic director yourself, I'm also an athletic director, like we see that aspect, and it's like, all right, let's get you back on your feet, let's get you what you need, and let's continue to move forward.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to just like, kick the kid down and, we want to kick him off the team, all that stuff. But, kids do make mistakes. And it's like, let's make the mistake now in middle school.
Yeah.
Let's learn from it so it doesn't happen in high school or at the next level.
Yeah. I think it's important also that when the kids do make mistakes and disciplines in school, bring the parents in. Let's talk about it.
Right.
You know, of course there's detentions. There's been detention since we can remember in school. You know, there's that stuff. But let's first of all get it up in the open of what really happened. But also the big picture is how can we learn from it and then we move on. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
We take the slap in the face or whatever we're going to take, and then we take the butt whooping, and then we move on, and then we can become better from it. Now, if you want to make a mistake 1 billion times in a row, then we might have a different issue. But we're trying to figure out what's the end goal here. Be better. That's it. Absolutely. That's the end goal, is to be better. Like I said before, even with COVID, coming out of COVID, these athletes are struggling mentally. I don't know. I don't want to call it soft because I don't think it's that. I think it's we become a little lazy because when COVID happened, pretty much we just were told to, go chill in your house and hang out and do whatever. And then we came out of it like, do we have to go outside? Yeah. But let's not forget the parents struggle. I'm a parent. We struggled and we're still struggling. We still have to grow. And I'm not just a coach, I'm a dad. So we have to grow and still be better. That's it. Plain and simple.
100%. What, you spent 7 years as a athletic director and also a coach, educator. What are some of the biggest challenges in today's world that we're facing? I know you talked about some of the mental stuff with coming out of COVID and stuff like that, but today is difficult. Social media.
Oh man.
There's so much that comes along with it that we're seeing right now. And sometimes it's like we don't have all the answers, right? We're with these kids a good deal of the day, right? Day and after practice and things like that. But there's so much that they're consuming on social media. It's difficult today. So what are some of the things that you've seen and like some of the challenges, but also some of the maybe benefits of helping these kids overcome these situations? It's
the relationship between the kid, the athlete, student athlete, the parent, and the administrators. There seems to be a disconnect every once in a while, a lot. It's really it's really getting down to the root of the problem. Is so when I also help, when you're an athletic director, you also have to help a lot of disciplines because most of the time the kid's an athlete, right?
Sure.
And the parents, you probably have a relationship with them just because you coach their kid and they trust you with their kid. So they want to figure it out. Now, when little Johnny goes home or little Susie goes home and says, hey, mom and dad, this happened.
Yeah.
As a parent, you want to go, okay, I trust you, son, daughter, and we're going to go to the school and we're going to go have it out with the student or the teacher because what you told me was awful. And I believe you 100%. I'm not saying kids are liars, but kids are liars.
Sometimes.
So I think what it is they're humiliated and they don't want to tell what really happened. And that's okay. They're children.
Right. They're embarrassed.
Correct. And I think what happens is that the parents get kind of upset and rightfully so most of the time. But I think if we all had the same mindset of what is the problem, what happened, and can we move on? Good. Perfect. Let's move on now. Let's serve as suspension or detention or whatever he has to do or she has to do. And we all move on.
Yeah.
Perfect. I don't hold grudges. But I think the social media thing is scary. Super scary, man. It's 24-hour news, whether you like it or not. You post a picture, it is now up there for 24 hours in a day, and you're honestly wondering if anybody liked it. That's a scary thing because even when you're asleep, they're judging it.
Yeah.
And again, whether you like it or not, and then now you have to pretty much get up the next morning and go, okay, can I go face these people at school today because of what I posted? And then some kids just think it's funny when they seem to fight and they record it instead of helping the situation. They want to record it and go show everybody. Again, they're kids, and we need to figure out a way to actually stop this type of stuff from happening. And it's on us parents to really go, hey, look, if you see something wrong, try to help it,
right,
and not try to show everybody how funny it is because maybe it's not funny. But I think a lot of that starts at home, maybe attention. But again, parents are trying. We're all trying.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the biggest challenge is that I would say in athletics is I think parents think their kids are like the best athlete in the world. Yeah. And I don't blame them because we don't want our kids to be the best. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But sometimes they're not. And that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. And little Johnny last week in a state tournament hit 2 doubles and one of my kids strike out 3 times. What's going on here? He just had a bad day.
Right.
Yeah, they're kids.
Yeah.
It's our other kids.
It's true. You know, because I mentioned earlier that there's strength in being vulnerable. There's also strength not being the smartest or the fastest or because, you know, sometimes those kids that are the strongest, the fastest, the smartest, they have no desire to become smarter, faster, or stronger. You know what I mean? So it's like you mentioned earlier, there's a perspective in everything.
Yep.
You just got to find it.
You got to find it, man.
Yeah.
You got to find it. You know, you talk about the kids when they're younger, and I talked about also perseverance when they're younger. You have a lot of kids in Little League that are hitting all these home runs on their front foot. There's this big 6-foot kid that's in Little League. He's like 11 years old, and he's hitting these home runs on his foot and just flicking the ball out there. It's going over the fence. No coach is telling him he's doing it wrong. Yeah. What the heck is that? He's doing it wrong. So when he gets to me in high school, those are lazy fly balls, and they can't figure out why.
Yeah.
Well, when he was 11 and 12, he hit a home runs. That's not a good swing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, trust the process on this.
Yep.
You know, trust the journey. He's got to get stronger. He's got to get better. He's got to stay back on the ball.
Yep.
We have to be honest with the kids at the same time, which is so hard as a parent.
Yeah.
Because now you don't want to get into this thing where you're actually trying to be friends with your kid because you're not their kid, you're their parent.
Right.
But also they go through such a hard time sometimes that you don't want to be honest with them at that point because maybe you're just really going to send them over the edge and it's going to be a
time and a place kind of thing, you know.
You know, it'll be awkward for 24 hours, but you'll have them forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. And that's what parents need to truly understand. You know what I mean?
It's tough, man. Yeah. It's tough
It is.
because, you know, as parents, we don't have the best days sometimes and we want to go home and have everything be great. But guess what? I have a daughter who's in stunt cheer and sometimes she's missing her bow, man.
Yeah.
You know, but it's okay. And then, you know, mom and dad are, you know, we want to be able to go out to dinner and have a good time. But when something happened at home, it's like, dude, come on, man. Yeah. Can we not have one night off? Nope, you can't. You signed up for it, bud. Yeah.
Well, so as this thing is starting to wrap up, I got to ask this. Did you ever face off with Steve? Did you ever? That's never happened. Never got the chance, or you just
wore him out, man. He would have had no chance.
Yeah, there we go, baby. I love it.
You know what? I got to watch him a couple of times, and he's a really good hitter. He really was. But the thing about his swing was he would catch everything kind of out in front, and it was really, really nice. Like he would stay back, and these big league hitters, they're such quick to the ball. He's such a big, tall dude. He's a really big dude. Mm-hmm. To get big guys to play baseball and be short to the ball is just this crazy technique that I just don't understand. But to watch him hit was something awesome. And I got to watch him hit in high school. Obviously, his swing in the big leagues was not the same as his high school, but to watch him evolve into the baseball player, it was just a really, really good swing. But again, I would have wore him out, Zach.
Let's make note of that,
man.
Pin that part.
Send it to Steve.
Nah, but hey, you're a competitor, man. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I get it. We all understand it. You know,
Damn right.
It's like you know. It's like you just never show any. You know you have weaknesses, but you don't show them. You don't talk about
weaknesses.
them.
What? Yeah. No, you're right. And but you have to be humble enough to know them. You have to because you have to work on them. Mm-hmm. You can't just go in there going, "I throw hard all the time." Yeah. Well, guess what? There's going to be a dude up there that's looking for that, and they're going to smoke it.
Yeah. There's going to be a dude getting paid $700 million.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I mean? So, that's awesome.
So I you know. What you guys are doing before we wrap up, I just wanted to touch on you. What you guys are doing is unbelievable. It's awesome. I'm super proud of you guys. I'm super proud to be here. I appreciate you guys letting me be in this chair for the day. Our little town of Porterville, I give much love to. I love coming home. I do. I love it. There's so many people here in Porterville in this area in the valley that know a lot of baseball. but also they're good men. They're good husbands and dads. They're just good people. And for you guys to be able to have people on and be able to talk and tell their story, I think is crazy unbelievable. You don't just wake up one morning and go and have all this stuff and then set it up. I think it's fantastic what you guys do. And I'm super appreciative, man. Really. Thank you.
Well, thank you, man. We appreciate you taking the time to come all the way down here and sit in the chair with us. And it's just cool to be able to like, I mean, it's our honor to like have you guys on. Like we get to talk to, whether it's you or Steve Cox or Bear Pasca, whoever it is, like it's an honor for us. And so we thank you. It's cool to bring back like you guys into the chair and get to share it with our young athletes and the parents of these young athletes. A lot of them do know who you guys are, but some of them don't, right? And they've never heard the story. So to shed light back on you guys that have given so much to our community, our kids, and now continue to give back to our youth and just share that knowledge to help them achieve their goals is really cool for us.
Yeah.
It shows,
Awesome, man.
Yeah, it shows how much you love the game.
Oof. I love the process of the journey. I really do. You guys do workouts here. You do private lessons or you do private workouts. It's the motivation part.
Yep.
It's the motivation part and being consistent. That's a very difficult part to do because we are human and we have other stuff, needs and stuff we want to do. But that's how we give back. If that's a passion, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
But let's, in perspective, we are all people and we have to be able to coexist and do things together. I know competition is one thing where guys want to really hammer at each other. Yeah. But hopefully at the end of the day, you still shake hands and say, I love you, brother, man. I'm so happy I competed against you guys today. Yeah. Also, kids want to face teams where their best player was hurt. Why? I want to face that team with their best player, man. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
So there's so much mental part to athletics because it sets you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
We're going to be old one day like I am now. Feeling it every morning when I get up and limping around.
Bull throwing a BP and stuff like that,
shoot.
rubber arm. And yeah, it's fun stuff, man. I like Victor Leva, right? He was just on the podcast, and I'll tell you what I told him. It's, when we get people from our small town that go to the highest level of whatever sport it was, football, baseball, basketball, and then they come back and find a passion for coaching, man, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because that's not how it goes all the time. You know what I mean? Some people reach that level. I had my time. I'm done. And they don't share the experience. Yeah. They don't share the passion and the knowledge that they have. So, man, thank you for doing what you do.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. I know. I enjoy it. I do enjoy it. It's part of my life. There may have been a time where I was like, I do not want to do this, but it just keeps bringing me back for more. Yeah. But you get attached to kids. You get attached to people.
Yep.
But
you adapt. Yeah.
You do. And I just love everything about our little town though. So that's why I come back home, man. It's just everything about from our Mexican restaurants to, again, like I told you guys, you go down, I'll tell people where Porterville is. Like, go down 99 until you start to smell a little bit of rotting citrus and manure. You're getting close. Yeah. Now head east about 10, 15 miles, and you'll start to smell carne asada. You're there.
You found it.
You've made it.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like before we wrap this up, we kind of talked about a lot of the issues, right? Especially we're facing as a country, as with our youth. The only way you fix this is to get guys like you, like what we're doing, and good coaches, to good people, good men to come back and coach, right? Those are the role models the kids need. And so for you and all the people around this country and this community that have went on and done great things and they come back and give their time back in their communities, this is how we fix our country. Right. This is how we're going to help our kids and to be role models for them.
Right.
People can complain all they want, but unless you go and put your time back in to our youth and stuff like that, that's what's going to make a difference. I really, really believe that.
Yeah. Well, time back in, like I told you, my favorite coaches were my Little League coaches.
Yep.
Those guys didn't get paid anything.
Yeah.
I would also think that, on that topic is let's educate ourselves before we spew something online.
100%.
Let's educate ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, let's really figure out, let's say it to ourselves in a mirror before we say it out loud
Yep.
and realize, okay, is this right or is it wrong? And then, you know, kind of go from there. We're all human. We get emotional and we get ticked and whatever, and we say stuff. But let's realize who's around us and what we're saying. If somebody needs a kick in the butt, give them a kick in the butt. You know, especially kids, they need that structure and those boundaries. But Blaine, you're right, man. I think we can fix everything that's going on. I think we can. But it takes everybody. It doesn't take just, the hardest thing too also is to align everybody on the same perfect day there. We have to lose the realization that we think that everybody's going to wake up feeling 100% every single day we wake up, because it's not going to happen.
Right.
Life happens, things happen, the bad stuff happens, and we have to just be strong and just deal with it.
Yep.
It's hard.
It's true.
It's hard.
Life's a team sport, and if you do decide to take the coaching title, don't take it light, you know, because you go into it making an impact, a positive one at that.
Yeah.
So
doesn't stop with the kids, the parents too, man.
Yeah.
And the relationships I have with parents, you know, I have conversations with some of the parents, and it's awesome. Hey, with the good or the bad, I take the good and the bad. And yeah, I may go home and have to gripe to my wife but there are times where I'm like, you know what? I love that they brought that passion in with that conversation. I don't like the way they brought it to me or the tone it was in, but I do love that they love their child.
Yeah.
And I dig it. I do, man. Freaking A, you know, I love it, but just realize that I would hope, I appreciate that they trust me with their children, but I would hope that they trust me enough to know that what I said to them or what they're doing, like maybe they're not playing the first 2 innings because they were late to school or they got a detention. I sat them out for a game, is because I love them and I want them to be better as people.
Right.
You know, there's no handouts here, you know, so.
Life doesn't give out handouts.
Oh man, I wish it did though.
It'd be a lot easier.
Quite often we're looking for life's manager, to express what we're going through, you know, have a complaint, stuff like that. But it's real
That's
talk.
awesome.
But yeah.
Cool. Any kind of, I guess goals or anything you have going, continuing your coaching career, or in education, things that are coming up, anything you're.
Yeah. Well, at this point, my overall goal is to actually make coaching a career. I would love to get in the pro level. We talk about, trying to get better as a coach. It's still studying analytics and stuff like that. I'm old school and new school all at the same time. So analytical and old school, I believe, can coexist. Look at Bruce Bochy. They brought him back and wins the World Series.
Right.
And he's kind of old school, but it's culture. It's management inside the clubhouse. It's a whole lot of stuff. Those are you're dealing with millionaires. That's tough. But I would love to be at the pro level, even the college level, but I would love to make a career out of coaching. I feel I bring a lot to the table as far as bringing to an organization. But there's a passion for it. There is. And I feel like I'm capable of it. But again, we'll see.
Yeah. Timing.
Yeah. We'll see.
It'll work out, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Kurt. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for taking the time to be here today.
All right, guys. Thank you.
It's
Appreciate
fun.
it.